Mike, you predicted Norway, didn't you? Gave them the best chance of everybody on this panel. How surprised are you, though, with the way the second half played out?
Yeah, it just seemed like men against boys, especially once that first goal went in. This Brazilian side had their chances. They didn't take them. But this is what I talked about. Good goalkeeping definitely gets you. You have to be kicking yourself, though, if you're a Brazilian fan. You have to be kicking yourself if you're Bruno Guimaraes. You have to definitely be questioning yourself if you're Carlo Ancelotti, because at the end of the day, Brazil did not have enough cutting edge in the final third, and that's what cost them. And now the Inquisition starts.
Yep.
I said it at half-time. I said it's crazy to use these two words and associate with Brazil to say quality, that the quality just wasn't good enough from overall play, how they turned over possession at times. They didn't look like they pressed as a team. They pressed as individuals. It was far too easy at times that Norway cut through them. But the quality aspect of it, and that's one word you can never associate with Brazil, wasn't good enough today. And for me, you got to give credit to Norway. But Brazil have to do some real soul-searching now as a nation. It really has to look within itself now. And, you know, some of these players, that just for me wasn't good enough.
34% possession from Brazil in a World Cup match. I read that since stats have been recorded in 1966, that's never happened at a World Cup game for Brazil. And I think even Nigel, you and I at halftime, we said, or if Brazil's to get back into this game, it's individuals, it's moments, it's trying to get out on the counter and begging for Vini to pull up in an opportunity. They had the chance, even with Endrick, right when the perfect ball from Vini, they don't take advantage of it. And I think you're right that we need to give Norway so much credit for dominating in the way that they want to play, imposing their style. First time that they're at a World Cup since 1998, and to knock out Ivory Coast and now to knock out Brazil is absolutely unbelievable.
It's also, we talk about big games, big moments, right? Brazil, everything's been about Vinicius Jr. This is the game that your superstars, your main guy is supposed to stand out. Knowing what's at stake with the experience he's got playing at Real Madrid and obviously representing the national side, this is his moment to stand out. Did he do enough today for me? I don't think so, no. It's hard to say that. It's hard to even pick out one real standout player from this Brazil team in his performance today.
Yeah, a brace from Erling Haaland. We're going to give Norway all their flowers in a second, but for more of the fallout from Brazil, let's welcome in a Brazilian former international, Lucas Leiva, to join us. Lucas, what's your reaction, first of all, to the way Brazil fell in that match?
Well, very difficult day. I think very frustrated. I agree with all you guys said, you know, Norway dominated, you know, especially in possession. And I think, of course, the difference between both teams was the goalkeeper. Of course, Nyland had a fantastic game, and Haaland. I think Haaland only had 2 half chances, and he turned up putting 2 inside the net. So that's what makes difference. That's what Brazil normally used to have, you know, this type of players, but it's a very difficult day for Brazil. Of course, a lot of questions will be asked, and then we have to analyze now, because you know, it's not normal that Brazil gets out from a World Cup so early in this competition.
Lucas, I know it's still early and very fresh, obviously coming off this loss now for Brazil, but looking back at that game, can you pick out one Brazilian player that you'd say was actually a standout performer in a big game like this when it really mattered?
Today, you mean, or
yes,
in general?
Today's game.
No, I think that is, you cannot pick one. You cannot pick one. Of course, we spoke about maybe, you know, rely on Vinicius Jr., but credit to Norway that they kind of, you know, close all the gaps and didn't give much chance to Vinicius to create. Of course, you know, if the penalty goes in, you could say it could be a different game, but you know, now it's just if, and you know, it's a frustrating day. There is no one that you really can pick today as a standout player, apart from Haaland, of course, from Norway, and the goalkeeper. I think in Ireland was fantastic.
Lucas, how do you reflect on the way that Ancelotti managed this game?
I think, you know, we spoke before the game, you know, with Martinelli coming on, he kind of defended in a 4-4-2. You know, we thought it could work. I think it didn't work quite well because Brazil couldn't have the possession, couldn't create many chances. Then when Endrick came on, he had a clear chance to score, didn't. So I think the changes. It was what we expected. To be honest, I wouldn't say that he should maybe have done different. But I think was the difference between both teams was the chance that Norway took and Brazil didn't. And and also I'm looking here. They start 66% of possession for Norway and 34 for Brazil is not something that you normally see it. So, of course, it's frustrated for Brazil, but I would like to congratulate Norway as well because I think they were, from the first minute, they played, like big national team. It seems that they had, so many World Cups in their hands. So, congratulations to Norway, and Brazil going out is a blow for the country as well.
Lucas, I want to get real because we're talking about the 5-time World Cup champions. You represented them. We've celebrated them on the biggest international stage. And I looked this up. This is the first time since 1990 that La Seleção has lost in the round of 16. 1990. You said the lowest possession we've ever seen, right? For a Brazilian national team since they started keeping stats. I mean, when you take a step back and you start going through the emotions of it, or just start going through the football aspect of it, could this be the worst Brazilian side we've seen in a long time? Because the standards you're talking about, we really haven't seen it at the World Cup.
Yeah, of course, after a defeat like this, you can create a debate in terms of it's the worst, but for me it doesn't really matter if it's the worst or the best. It's just the way Brazil left the World Cup. It's for us Brazilians to make a reflection and see what we need to do different because it's clear that the last 30 years now it will be 30 years was 24, but the next World Cup will be 30 years that Brazil doesn't really get where we want. We need to reflect and see what we can do as a country to produce better teams. And but it's really hard for me to say now if it's the worst team in the history. I think it's not fair for the players as well. You have some fantastic players there, but of course today it didn't work for Brazil.
Lucas, when you think about the reaction in Brazil tomorrow morning, what do you think the focus will be on? Will you think it will be on the 34% possession? Do you think it will be more on the players, more on Ancelotti himself? What do you think the blowback will be?
I think it will be on the players for sure. At the end of the day, the players are on the pitch, and the fans expect a lot from them. And I think the players will be the most judged by the fans. But of course, Ancelotti, he's the manager. He just he signed a new contract for the next World Cup, the cycle of the next World Cup. So, like I said, it will be a lot of questions to be answered, but like I said before, it's time to reflect, because we cannot accept that Brazil goes home so early, and especially the way it was. So, but again, congratulations to Norway. I think they were very good, and they deserve it today.
Lucas, really interesting about Carlo Ancelotti as well, because obviously everybody was very excited when he went to Brazil, especially going and reuniting with the likes of Vinicius Jr. Even though this is a disappointment, he has the contract extension. Do you think the country and the team is still going to back him? Because the contract is one thing, right? But how it all plays out over the next 4 years is another thing. Do you think that he'll have the confidence and the backing to take them to the next World Cup?
I think so. Not now, of course. Will be a lot of debates, and people will question. But he showed so many times that he's a winner, and I think he is the guy that still, even after a heavy defeat like today, he is the right guy to lead Brazil for the next generation, for the next World Cup. But like I said, it doesn't matter if you have probably one of the best managers in the world if you don't reflect, and if you are not humble enough to understand that maybe Brazil at the moment are not contenders in terms of what you expect as a team. So we just need to maybe make a step back, reflect, and come back stronger. I think that's what I used to do it when I was a player. If things are not going well, are not working, you have to be humble enough to understand, reflect, and come back again and stronger.
Love it, Lucas. Thank you very much. Sorry that we're not speaking to you in better circumstances, but it's been so good to have you with us through Brazil's journey in this World Cup. I hope you get some sleep now. You're in Shanghai, right? It's
6 a.m. though.
6 a.m.
Yes, I hope I can get some sleep. I'm very, very sad. But anyway, thank you very much, and have a wonderful World Cup for you as well.
Thank you, Lucas. Thank you. Oh, disappointing, isn't it, when you hear from the fans and especially former players that
Why is it disappointing?
Because the World Cup comes around every 4 years, doesn't it?
I know, it's a reality. Turn up.
England could be in that same boat tonight.
Turn up. Brazil did not turn up.
Good questions that he's
Norway
posing, though.
deserved it.
Really good questions that Lucas posed. You know what also I remembered? Because you just kept saying 5-time chance. Norway knocked out 2 teams that have 9 World Cups. They knocked out Italy from even qualifying, and they knocked out Brazil. So the courage that Norway showed, I know, again, the focus will be on Brazil, but the courage that Norway showed to not lose before you step on the pitch, not just look at the names and be scared. They want to take their match. I can't get over that it says 34% possession for a Brazilian national team.
The 34% possession is obviously Ancelotti and how he likes to coach, yes. But at the same time, Brazil not having or producing Brazilian-like players. They seem to have lost their flair, lost that special aura about them now. And to me, you look at this Brazilian national team, it's starting to look very European kind of like in how they approach stuff and how they go and play. And I think sometimes you have to stay true to your identity and your culture. Whether the game has moved on, yes, I understand to a certain degree. But Brazil need to find a way to nourish and nurture the next Neymar, the next Ronaldo, and all these type of players again, and stop kind of trying to lose your identity to be like everyone else. Because that's what happens sometimes with these international sides, that people try and get influenced by what they're doing. Oh, we're going to copy them this way. We're going to copy this nation because they're doing that way. You've got to stay true to what makes you you, what makes you unique group of people and human being, and stay true to your culture.
Maybe that's the downside as well of being such an amazing manager, is he felt that connection to Neymar and is so bonded and connected to so many of these players that he's maybe calling up the ones that he has the best chemistry with and the best collective chemistry, rather than who is the best on paper. The momentum chart, Marco, you said it, historically bad for Brazil. We know the possession doesn't mean everything as well, by the way, but in this match, it really does tell a story with the attack.
Yeah, look, Brazil got found out in a significant way. You look at the big teams that they played in the first match against Morocco. Morocco were the better team. And if it wasn't for a Vinny Jr. moment where he really kind of capitalized on an opportunistic moment for him, they probably should have gotten beat by Morocco if they were more clinical on that. I worry about this Brazilian national team because they're losing their luster. They're losing their sense of invincibility that we used to associate with Brazil. And there's going to be some people saying, well, sometimes football moves on. But this team, when we looked at the squad, when we talked about Brazil coming in the World Cup, I did not get a sense of fear factor from them. I didn't get a sense of ambition from them. And much of the decision and much of the talk was, will Carlo Ancelotti bring Neymar to the World Cup? Now it begs the question, should Carlo Ancelotti brought the likes of João Pedro, because he's made some big decisions, Nige. And you mentioned this. Igor Thiago comes in. That's a big decision to make. Okay, he scored 20-plus goals in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Igor Thiago's on the bench for the rest of the World Cup.
After he got
You're playing against a low block in the Norway side that was defending and against a goalkeeper that was playing out of his mind. Maybe that's something that comes back to bite you in the backside. But Brazil, it just seems like they need a massive reset.
And again, listen, Casemiro's been great. Fantastic player, what he's done, an amazing season out at Manchester United. But then again, you're questioning games like this. Do you really need to start him? Do you not start Danilo with a bit more legs and enthusiasm in there? Again, we saw watching the game, we was even saying, look, they're pressing in ones and twos, and Norway's are literally just walking through them, and they couldn't recover to get a recovery run in there. And as much as Norway had most of the possession, we were still saying that Brazil still looked more likely to score. And then when they got in those moments, quality. which is something that you never would associate that word with a Brazilian team.
It was
they were lacking
disappointing,
quality.
wasn't it?
And it was, yeah. So
Really?
it's a big loss.